GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show that's as reliable as that one friend who's always got your back. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton, and today we're joined by our good friend, Tyler D. We're talking about what is the likely outcome of either a Republican or a Democrat president for the next term. We're going to talk about how Kamala changed her stance this week on crypto, break that down for you guys. And then we're just going to give you guys a little bit of a history lesson. Look, neither Tyler or I are political experts, nor are we pushing you to vote in either direction, but we want to make sure that you're informed on what the party's stances are on crypto, because so much has happened in the past few months. So much is changing. And then, of course, also Gary Gensler was in front of Congress this week. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about Mark Cuban, and then we're going to finish with liquidity, because there's a lot of liquidity injecting into the space right now. It's why we feel the banana zone is coming. And we're going to talk about what's happening in China and what could happen as a result of either next president, and what that would mean for liquidity, which obviously has an impact on markets. As we always do at the start of our episodes, we got to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Gemini. Discover Gemini, the US-based exchange built for new and advanced traders. As a special welcome gift, they are offering new customers $15 in Bitcoin just for trading. At Gemini, security is the top priority. As a licensed full reserve exchange and custodian, your assets are well protected. Plus, they offer cutting-edge security features like passkeys to keep your accounts safe. This exchange is setting the standard for compliance and innovation so you can trade with confidence. Head over to gemini.com/milkroad and start trading today to earn your $15 in Bitcoin. Sign up now and get ready to join the trading fun. Tyler, welcome back to the show.
Jay, thanks for having me back. It's been a heck of a week, and it was a big one for crypto politics. I'm excited to get into it with you.
Let's start with what happened with Kamala this week. You know, we've been wondering what the Democrats' stance is on crypto for a while. They've had so much movement with Kamala stepping up and Biden stepping down. Do we feel like we finally have clarity on what their stance on crypto might be?
I don't know if we have the clarity we want just yet, but we are starting to see some signs that the tides may be changing. So I think notoriously for those in the crypto space, crypto sector, the Kamala and the Democrats have been silent on her position on crypto and blockchain, but that is now starting to change. The big news this week, that at a speech in Pittsburgh on Wednesday, in talking about the economy now for the first time, she is including blockchain and digital assets as something that she wants the U.S. to lead in. And that is a notable change. And the first time we've heard her mention those things, then it goes even deeper into one of the heads of the finance committee in the House, Maxine Waters, some of her comments, which represent a stark change from the Democrat party line a year ago, which was crypto is for money launderers and scammers, to now we need to start over and build crypto regulation from scratch that's smart and reasonable. So it's been a big week. And I mean, for starters, like, why does this matter? This election is a coin flip.
Yeah,
right? You pull up the poly market odds right now. It's 51-49. It's a true coin flip. It's arguably the closest election in the U.S. that we've had in quite some time. And the next leading question for those in the crypto space is, so what does it mean? What does it mean for crypto?
And so let's give a little bit of, before we jump into what it means moving forward, and let's be clear that it is always difficult to know what a politician is actually going to do when they take office. But let's do a little bit of a history lesson. What has each party said so far over the past few months about their stance on crypto? Because I think that'll form at least a direction of where we think they could go.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting 3 to 4 months for crypto politics. I think it really, like the political issue really came to the forefront for me in July, when Vitalik came out and published a blog, which actually came in response to the Republican National Committee meeting and A16Z, famous crypto VC investors who came out and endorsed Trump. for the 2024 election. At this time, several crypto VCs had started coming out and endorsing him. This prompted Vitalik to write a blog. And the story, the takeaway from the blog, that people should think deeper than single issue voting and look at underlying policies when making a more informed decision. I think just going up perhaps just one level deeper, he argues that crypto and its ethos are a tool for broader ideas like decentralization, privacy, and global equality, and that you need to look at candidates' other policies and how they might impact those things. And he really hones in on the blog on the core concepts of privacy and internationalism, in which of these candidates would perhaps be better to promote those ideals here in the election. So that, I think, that got folks' wheels turning. Now, also in July, the Republicans published their 2024 platform. So putting all of their stances on all of the key issues down on paper. It had a very specific crypto section. I think this really stood out to folks in the crypto audience. It says within chapter 3 that the title of the section, "Build the Greatest Economy in History." The crypto paragraph, I'll read it because it's short. "Republicans will end Democrats' unlawful and un-American crypto crackdown and oppose the creation of a central bank digital currency. We will defend the right to mine Bitcoin and ensure every American has the right to self-custody of the digital assets and transact free from government surveillance and control." So in quick summary, they want to end the unlawful crypto crackdown. They oppose a CBDC. They want to defend Bitcoin mining rights and ensure the right to self-custody and free transacting. So a very solid platform. I mean, I think that it would be hard to argue with any of the stances laid out in that position. So at that point in time, I think the Republicans had kind of taken the lead as the pro-crypto party. I think that was only enforced when Trump made his appearance at Bitcoin Nashville. And I came on this pod and we did a recap of that. So if folks missed that one, I will say, go back. I think that was a very interesting one. But in quick summary, he went to Bitcoin Nashville. He promised to fire Gary Gensler on day one. That led to massive applause. I think perhaps the biggest applause. He said stable coins will increase U.S. dollar dominance, and he praised them. He promised to end Operation Choke Point in the war on crypto. He mentioned creating a crypto committee to help regulate it. He committed to releasing Ross Ulbricht, a hot button topic for the core crypto audience, and then offered up a new strategic stockpile for Bitcoin, where the U.S. would stop selling and start hodling. And then just an hour later, that's when Republican Senator Cynthia Lummis dropped her official strategic reserve proposal, which went into the United States actually buying and accumulating Bitcoin. And it really started to speculate on what that would look like. So at this point in time, it's August 2024. Republicans clearly out in front as the pro-crypto party. Fast forward to September, the Democrats released their platform. Oh no, no mention of crypto, no mention of blockchain anywhere. I watched the Democratic National Committee, Kamala's speech. She gave a nice speech. Once again, no mention of crypto or blockchain anywhere. And then just a few weeks ago, we had the Trump family go even further. They announced the launch of World Liberty 5, their crypto project. Trump went on the interview with Farouk. He's more into crypto than ever. Probably fast forward to this week in the news that we're talking about. Kamala has finally started coming around. She mentions blockchain and digital assets at this speech in Pittsburgh. Said she wants the U.S. to maintain dominance in blockchain tech. This came after they released an updated policy. So I think the Democrat platform that was released may have been the Biden administration. I think Kamala and team were actively working on her own. And they released a new way forward here just this week. And that new way forward, it's a very long document, but it does include some comments. I'll quote here. Their strategy includes both investing in emerging tech and modernizing traditional industries. It will also encourage innovative technologies like AI and digital assets while protecting our consumers. So, it's something. It's the breadcrumbs, right? We're
Mhm.
starting to see the mentions. Okay, it's in the platform, and then I think arguably the most important were Maxine Waters' comments from yesterday. And Jay, you may not know who she is. I think the reason this matters is she is the financial services chair for the House, so someone who is deep in helping set
Mm.
policy for finance in the United States. And she's saying that crypto is the future and that she wants to start from scratch on building crypto legislation. And this was big because Maxine Waters and others, again, we're just touting the party line as of a year ago that crypto is bad and only used for money laundering. Senator Warren and others leading Operation Choke Point, which tried to cut off crypto companies from banks. And we're still seeing, the impacts of that. But now we're starting to see at least words that the tides may be shifting here for the Democrats.
So essentially, all heading in the right direction, it feels like, for the Democrats. And not a surprise, as you said, Biden stepped down. It felt like we were really still feeling the influence of him, even though he stepped down earlier this summer. Like, it felt like that was continuing. And now there's this change that's coming. And then on the Trump side, I think we all know that he is mega pro crypto and leaning in with his NFT collection previously, and now his DeFi exchange. It's wild to see how quickly he is in the space. Now, that's not all that happened this week. Actually, let me ask a question here and stop before we jump into the SEC, because there was some SEC news this week. What do you think is the difference between, if we were to compare the Democrats and the Republicans' stance on crypto? What do you think the difference is?
Well, I think right now the biggest difference is that the Republican stance is defined and written down on paper, and the Democrat stance is one that is kind of like, trust me, we like crypto now, but you'll just have to believe us. Like it again, I'll just repeat, like the core tenets in the Republican platform, they're very easy to follow and understand. They want to end the unlawful crackdown. They oppose the CBDC. They want to defend Bitcoin mining rights and ensure self custody. All that we have, that's the Republican stance, and in the Democratic Party stance, just broad strokes, like encouraging innovation in tech, like AI and digital assets. And some have even made the point that digital assets doesn't even necessarily mean crypto. So I think that is up for debate. So I think at this point in time, the Republicans are definitely still the more pro crypto party. I think that much is clear. A lot depends on how much folks want to believe the new rhetoric coming from the Democrat leaders here.
Well, and it's also interesting to see the language that Kamala is specifically choosing to say blockchain and digital assets and not crypto. It almost makes me wonder if they've done some polling to show that their voter base doesn't like the word crypto and is anti-crypto, which very well could be the case. Who knows? I hope crypto becomes a bipartisan issue. I think we all believe that will happen. Eventually, it kind of is inevitable, but we'll see how it all plays out for this election. Okay, let's shift gears to the SEC and everybody's favorite puppet, Gary Gensler. What happened this week with Gary being in front of Congress?
Yeah, our old friend Gary, he had a bad day in front of Congress. So effectively for several hours, he was in front of the House for a congressional hearing on the oversight of the SEC. So I think right off the bat, that SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce was sitting right next to him. She was undermining him nearly the entire time, going as far as saying that they should have clarified their stances on some of these key questions, like are crypto token securities or not, several years ago. We have a particularly damning quote from Tom Emmer, who said, "We could not have had a more historically destructive or lawless chairman of the SEC." And that's about as bad as it gets. And then I think perhaps the most viral clip was one from Richie Torres, who was asking Gensler if Yankees tickets are securities. Gary says no. And then Torres kind of leads him down a line of questioning to the Stoner Cats NFTs, which had a settlement that they were securities, and Gary really couldn't defend it. very well as to why those would be and Yankees tickets are not, which I think is just more worrisome that he couldn't just clearly define why they had even made this ruling. I think a lot of folks are just starting to question the merit behind the SEC and all of these settlements that they're going after and enforcement by regulation. And we had judges speak out this week as well. And it just seems like folks are kind of coming around to common sense. Like companies can't operate if there aren't clear frameworks that lay out the rules of the road. And those are lacking and we just need them. And it feels like we're finally in 2024 going to get there. I think that is a massive positive.
Regardless of who wins the election, do you think we are likely to see a change in the SEC chairman and then as a result, the stance of the SEC along with that?
I do. I think regardless of who wins, we will see that progress. I think we're starting to see it right now. Under the Biden administration. Now, I think, is it possible that Trump would appoint a more crypto-friendly head? Maybe. So it's like perhaps it's the difference of better versus best. I don't know, but I think regardless, it's going to be a positive.
Right. Well, who's everybody's vote for the next SEC chairman? I know who mine is. My buddy Mark Cuban. What did Mark Cuban say this week? Hang on, let's listen to this clip, everybody.
Could I ask you, Mark, whether you would entertain being a Treasury Secretary, Commerce Secretary in a Harris
Head of the
administration?
SEC. Head of the SEC. That's the job I would take. Maybe HHS.
Tyler, what do you think about what Mark Cuban said here? Is he really going to be the next SEC chairman?
I was like, my first reaction is, why would he want it? Like, why would you want to be the chair, the head of the SEC? You're a billionaire businessman. But I mean, I like Mark. He seems to be a common sense guy. Clearly, has had a lot of success in business. And it's interesting. He's become kind of one of the de facto spokesmen for the Democratic Party. He's come out and endorsed Kamala, who is infamously not given many public interviews. So he's like kind of doing his part to do the interview circuit for her, it seems. So we'll see. That was a very interesting curveball from this week.
Okay. So question that we always like to wrap with is, what's the trade here? How do you trade this? And before we touch on that with regards to the election, I would love to touch on what's going on in China this week around liquidity first, because I think that is even more important really than the election is right now, because the election is still a month and a half away. So can you just walk us through what is happening over in China around liquidity and the money printer turning on?
Yeah, this week, China announced rate cuts of their own, along with this massive stimulus package. I think the biggest they've seen since COVID. I want to say a trillion yuan, upwards of $100 billion in U.S. terms, being pumped into their economy. We're already starting to see some impacts of this in traditional stocks. We're seeing it in crypto. A famous hedge fund manager and investor, David Tepper, came out and said to buy everything Chinese. Effectively, just follow the money.
Right.
And like, if you look back at the charts from the last 4 to 8, 16 years, it feels like it's when these liquidity is pumped into markets, like you can see the correlation. It almost comes down to like, is it really this easy? That when, we're in easing and money printing cycles, is that just the time to move into risk assets? And then, perhaps taper down when things go the other way. I think this has been a core part of Raoul Paul's theses, for quite some time. It looks like it's now starting to play out. He may have called the banana zone a few months early, but it feels like we're heading there. I think one of the other impacts of this news out of China is I do think the U.S. will want to compete, and they're not going to let China outprint. So we'll see our own version here in the U.S. And the question coming back to the parties, like perhaps which candidate would be more likely to do that? It's a tricky question to answer. I think Trump and the Republicans are generally more pro-business, less regulation. That has historically been good for markets, but the Democratic Party has certainly shown that they are willing to turn that money printer on. as well. And I think we'll see it under both candidates. So I think kind of regardless of who wins, I do believe we will see crypto do very, very well. I think it's going to do very, very well soon. I think coming in November, post-election, I think just the uncertainty of who's going to win has been keeping markets down a bit. And as soon as that outcome is known, it's going to remove a huge unknown and risk from
Yes.
markets. I think we'll start to move up then. And as to what, I mean, I'm wearing the hat.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin, the number one crypto asset, will perform well. That's my hot take. I don't know if it's a hot take, but I like it.
I would say it's when we get into banana zone, there's always the question of will Bitcoin dominance decrease and will more money flow to the more risky assets, the altcoins and whatnot. And I think we're not going to have that debate right now, but there is a legitimate debate to be had as to whether that happens this time or not. Have to listen and we'll do an episode on that in the future. Actually, let us know in the comments if you guys want us to do an episode on Bitcoin dominance. We could do a full episode on that. I think my main takeaways here are, number one, we're finally getting some clarity from the Dems, but keep an eye out because it's just the start. We want more. We'd like to see more from the Dems. We know pretty clear we're getting an SEC change regardless of who wins. So that's a big step. And honestly, I just want this election to be over with. Like, regardless of who wins, I think you're totally right. It is that catalyst that everybody just wants to know the answer. And I think regardless, liquidity is what raises markets. So regardless of who wins, I still think banana zone is on. And I think that the liquidity, as we ended with here, of China and then the rest of the world, the US. I mean, the money printer's been on around the world for a while. It's the US, and the US is doing it a little bit kind of like behind the scenes, not really the most public printing that's happening. But like, I feel regardless who wins, I think we're in a good position and we're still banana zone on. It's not like, I think there's some people who are like, oh, if Kamala wins, like it's over for crypto. No, I don't think so at all. I think risk assets are game on regardless.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well said. Time to go risk on.
Time to go risk on. Time to wear your Bitcoin propaganda shirt or your hat. Tyler D, thank you so much for joining us today. Everybody listening in, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. It supports the show so much. We so appreciate all of you guys and all your support. Have yourselves a wicked awesome day. As always, if you liked today's episode, please hit subscribe and make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, we're going to also leave a link for Milk Road Pro. You get access to our portfolio where you can see exactly what we are buying. This is your number one resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this show is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Investing in crypto or any asset is risky, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thanks so much for listening in, my friends. Have a wicked awesome day.